How's it going, everyone? My name is Andrew Cherico, and I'm here with Clay Pasco, and welcome back to another episode of Up All Night, your favorite UCF late night show. Clay, we're making progress. This is episode 13 now.
We're beating the once a month allegations, bro. I'm telling you, we're gonna keep this a weekly. We do it because it's fun. We do it because we want your favorite UCF late night show. We're gonna keep it going every week.
Hashtag we're not frauds. And speaking about frauds, I'm just joking. The defense. Clay, do you think this defense is getting better?
Weirdly, yes and no. We're making adjustments. We're playing. I think the DBs are playing way better than they were at the start of the season. I will say that right now. The coverage is much better. Everything else, I mean, we're great on first and second down, and then when it comes to third down and fourth down, we're just I don't know. Do we have a defense out there on third and fourth down? I couldn't tell you. But it seems like we're making little progress. To say that it's getting worse would be wrong. To say it's getting significantly better is also wrong. I think it's showing progress for sure.
I would say I agree. The biggest issue, like you mentioned, is getting off I've never seen a defense that wants to stay on the field more than UCF defense on third and fourth down. It's sickening. And the amount of easy tackles that UCF could have had in the game against Iowa State to even a clutch one against Deshaun Pace. That would have been a game changer right there with Deshaun Pace on the sack. Would have been a game changer. It feels like this defense every week is getting better at something, but getting worse at something. You saw betterness in getting turnovers, but you saw the team getting worse once again in third and fourth down situations. But talking about getting better and getting worse, should Gus Malzahn keep the play calling for this team? It's been something that's trending for a while now. Last year, he gave it up and then took it back midway through the year. And I'll start off with this one. I'm going to say, no, he shouldn't keep it. I feel like there's too much relying on Gus right now so that you see the little things in this team going wrong. For example, the time management. He's trying to manage time and the play calling on offense and setting up the formation, telling the guys to get out there. It's too much. And what are you seeing? You're seeing penalties early, offsides. You're seeing false starts. You're seeing time being run down in the wrong situations and not enough time being run down in the right situations. You're just seeing a lot of coaching malpractices that at the end of the day, I just think it might be too much on the plate of Gus Malzahn.
I agree. Look at any national championship winning coach, even national contenders, none of them call plays. They let their OC call plays, they let their DC call the plays. As head coach, you need to focus on recruiting, pretty much everything else. So I agree. So we had things aren't looking great. So we like to have a fun game every week. So we had the privilege of having Mr. President himself from Sons of UCF, Brian Peterson, on the show to talk games and also to talk the Iowa State game. So, here's that. And welcome to our pretty much weekly game at this point, I'd say, with the way things are going, I try to have a game set up every week. And with a game, we try to have a guest. And this week's guest is the Mr. President himself, Brian W. Peterson. Now, what's cool about this group of guys we have now is that both Andrew and Brian have been on the recently devised Sons Today appearances with Adam. I have yet to be asked, but that's neither here nor there. Brian, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here with you two fine gentlemen.
How's it going, bro? I like the background. Consistently.
Thanks. Yeah, look at that.
Looks great. Looks great.
You can't see it because my big head's in the way. But
are there any gold jerseys in the room with you?
There's no gold jerseys in the room, but I got plenty of gold back there.
I love it. Because we're a gold school, right?
Absolutely. Well, don't ask Terry. He might not agree with that.
I mean, you could consider that a blunder. Anyways, so we informed Brian of the game beforehand because this is one of those you have to devise. So the game, I think it's kind of in the name, but we're going to each go through our top 3 blunders in the Malzahn era. Now, let me go ahead and preface. This doesn't have to be directly related with Gus Malzahn himself. This can just be any event that's transpired in the 3 years he's been here, having to do with him or not. So we're going to go one at a time with what we think is the least egregious to the most egregious. Hopefully we've all devised different lists. I think you two probably have one because this one was really obvious, but I wasn't going to go for it. But
if it's the one you're thinking of, I've changed mine.
Okay, then never mind.
Honestly, I'm just winging it.
Andrew, I'm gonna let you go first. I'm gonna go ahead and so we can get a feel of this. What is your top 3 Malzahn era blunders?
Letting Tommy Castellanos go,
Ooh,
him leaving.
okay.
This would have set UCF with a quarterback who could produce in the Big 12 for a while. UCF can't find that quarterback. That's the one for them. We have a couple in our hands now, but we don't know who to choose now. It's almost like a girl with too many dates. But all three of them in reality could be not the one. Tommy Castellanos was very talented. A lot of UCF fans knew that, but Gus just had a preference for JRP. Not saying that JRP didn't have signs and flashes of greatness and versatility in the offense, but it's just Tommy. What this team could be with Tommy Castellanos at quarterback is so much more.
Good one. Oh, wow, that's not your number one. You have two that are worse than that. Okay. I guess I'll go ahead and go next. This is really stupid, but I think Christian Simmons will agree with me. The deletion of pewter uniforms from the uniform slate. Now, I'm a big pewter uniform guy. I really like them. I'm very sad I never got to experience them in person. I love the look, especially with the gold helmets, even with the anthracite helmets, even with the black helmets. I think the pewter uniforms were very good. It was a good, unique style we had, and letting go of it, I think, hurts our brand as Drip U. And I'm never gonna forgive them if they don't bring it back. But
the pewter was one of the surprise ads when they announced their the uniform change up back in 2016 when Scott Frost first got here, and they changed all the Nike uniforms and brought in pewter. For some reason, I was always real excited when we wore pewter and white. I really thought that combination really clicked very well. The one that I can think of is pewter helmets, white tops, pewter pants, and the gold chrome stack decal on the helmet. It was just it was a good look. It was a good look.
Brian, I gotta ask: do you think that UCF is still a Drip U?
Unpopular opinion. I think that we are still Drip U. I know a lot of folks have been kind of meh on the uniform combinations that we've rolled out lately. I suspect that there might be perhaps some supply chain issues going on there, or some reason that we saw a lot of black and white in the first 5 weeks of the season. It felt like it was just the same thing over and over again. Let's just change the jersey and the helmet, the white face mask. But I think that they're still trying. I think that we're just probably so used to the fact that we were getting a different uniform every week, and that's kind of not the way college football is working at this very moment. I think that we're going to probably see some more fun stuff in the future. At least I'm hoping. Fingers crossed.
But leading into that, what's your blunder?
Okay, so I'm actually going to take what Andrew said, and I'm going to take it a bit further. So I had Tommy written down as one of the blunders, but I also wrote down big picture. The blunder for me was not just Tommy, but it was the management of the quarterback room that we have seen under Gus Malzahn so far during his tenure. Obviously, Tommy is, the first one that a lot of people come to mind. He was a great recruit that was coming in. We kind of fumbled the ball, so to speak, with burning his red shirt, throwing him out there to play in the conference championship game before he was ready. And then, for whatever reason, Tommy decides to transfer out. But we can also add on to that, Gus playing JRP perhaps when he was still injured before he was really ready to come back. And starting EJ Colson 2 weeks ago prior, letting him get like 3 series and then pulling him out, putting in Ja'Cory Brown, and then running with just Ja'Cory Brown, who's Gus has announced is going to be our starter this week. I mean, why go through the process of starting EJ? It doesn't make sense to me. And then bringing in KJ, right? That falls on Gus. That was his guy, basically, and he turned out to be a major bust. So I'm going to go with his management of the quarterback room as one of the biggest fumbles.
Yeah, and then I'll bounce right off of that. My second one was bringing in KJ Jefferson.
We planned this, Clay. We planned this. Me and Andrew did it beforehand.
Yeah, I'm bringing in KJ Jefferson. He was the so-called acquisition of the offseason for the Knights and maybe the Big 12. I'm looking at the bigger picture of it. I'm not going to put specific numbers out there, but a couple $100,000 on a quarterback that's sitting on the bench for the rest of the season now. 5th year, not getting any more playing time. That money could have been used elsewhere. We see a lot of holes on this team, a lot. And you're using two guys who you didn't even expect to play. If you told me midway through the season that KJ Jefferson, not injured, just not playing, I would have thought you're crazy. Something terrible must have had to happen. Something terrible has happened. He cannot throw the football efficiently. Gus feels not comfortable to play him. I mean, he's not injured. He's getting reps in practice. He just says he's not playing him no more. It's almost like he is injured, but he's not. Like, they're treating him like he's a cast around the team now. He's still a team captain. He was running this team cap. So bringing in KJ Jefferson was just one of the biggest fumbles, I think, in recent UCF history.
Yeah, that's really good. I actually had two written down for this one. I'm trying to decide which one to use. They're both. I think I have to go as of recent events. I have to go with this one, but I'm gonna go with the Gus Malzahn Trace Troco beef. Is that what it's doing now? Do we have to give Trace Troco? Do we have to give him a bodyguard, a security? Is he gonna have to have a security role with him? I don't know, man. The way Gus glares at him, I think this might be. I mean, Gus might put on a hit on Trace. We might. I'm just. I don't know what to make of this beef. It's going viral in the UCF community. I know, and I don't know what to make of it. What do you think,
Trace? As Trace would say, he's just asking questions. That's all he's doing.
Fair.
He's just asking questions.
He's not attacking it.
He's not. I mean, I don't think that Trace has asked anything that isn't unfair, or that isn't unfair. He's asking legitimate questions, right? He's not going to give Gus those T-ball questions. And let him get off. He's got legitimate questions that a lot of fans are asking. He asks the UCF community, hey, what would you like me to address with the coaches this week? And he goes through and he asks questions that he thinks are legitimate questions. And I don't think Gus should have an issue with that. However, I think, Andrew, you need to be on standby because if Trace gets kicked out, I'm sure that the Suns are coming for you next. You're going to be up next.
I made the joke the other day in the press conference room. I bet Gus was up to his max with Trace when he shows up to the Ames and against Iowa State press conference and he sees Trace sitting right there. In my head, Gus has to be like, "What are you doing here right now? Like, you're not even like a news network reporter. You're doing this voluntarily. It's like, why are you? That had to be going through Gus's mind. Like, why are you here with this?
I can't escape this guy."
But yeah, that's the latest Trace and Gus beef saga.
It's one-sided for sure. It's just Gus. But Brian, what's yours? What's your third one or your second?
Okay, so my second one, I'm going to go with the tone-deaf timing of the Gus extension that took place when Terry announced his extension. Andrew knows exactly what I'm talking about. In the midst of our losing streak, and it just the timing was just terrible. Of all the times to announce that you're giving a 2-year extension to your head coach. Did nobody coordinate a good time for them to announce when they were going to be extending Gus? It's just tone deaf. And I mean, when I think of blunder, that's what I think of.
That's such a good pull. That I didn't even think about that. That's right on the money. I think honestly that's a top tier one. I just think, to add on to what you said, that was just, and look what it's turning out to be now. But going on to mine, I say my last one is, I think my worst one is not growing home talent. I don't think I've seen a team as focused on trying to scrap together a team on transfers each year more than UCF. It's almost transfers at every position now as a thing for Gus. And we have all this, top 2 in the Big 12 recruiting, top 2 in the Big 12 recruiting, top tier in the American recruiting. Where are those guys? What are we doing with our young talent? And not only is it a problem because you're bringing in the Big 12 talent that aren't playing on the Big 12 level, these young guys who know they have the talent to be playing on it, they're transferring. They're getting out of there. They know that there's something going on in UCF where it's not the place for them to be. And UCF is taking a big hit in their stock right now. Colorado, everything seemed like it was on the up and up. UCF fans felt undefeatable after all these transfers, red shirts, and all the talk about the young talent on this team being frustrated. You have to think what's going on with the preference of transfers.
Yeah, that's. I want to preface. I want to ask you guys a question, right? If let's say you're you're looking for a contractor, right? Or not even that. That's a terrible example. Let's say you're just looking for a guy to do a job for you, right? You need him to do a job, something minute, but also he's handling some important things. You need it done right. And if you look at his resume, and he's done 15 different jobs, and you need some longevity in this guy. Are you gonna take a chance on a guy that's had 15, 16 different jobs? If you need some longevity and you need it done right, if he's been fired 15 times, does that look good to you as an employer?
Certainly a red flag, right? You want to.
So my number one is the hiring of Ted Roof. Not that Ted Roof, not that he's been horrible. He hasn't. Has he been anything to write home about? Absolutely not. But it probably should have been the biggest red flag of this in the entire offseason was the hiring of this guy that's been to 11 different schools in 16, 17 years. When it comes to, even if you're just a defensive coordinator, like, all right, cool, he's been a defensive coordinator at 7 different schools. He's had no longevity anywhere. He's been to 8 different schools in the last 9 years. What's the pool here? He got fired from Oklahoma. They told him to get out. In a defensive focused team. I mean, Brent Venables is a defensive coach, and even they tell him, yeah, get out. We don't need you here. And to come to UCF because we won a national championship together, I don't understand it. I don't understand the hire at all. And it's it's mind-boggling. And I think that should have been a red flag from the start. And I feel like there wasn't much discussion. And looking back, I think we were all kind of short-sighted in that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know that. I guess we'll have to see how the rest of the season plays out. The defense did play considerably better last week than they did in the prior games leading up to the Iowa State game. Still plenty of issues on third down. Some questionable penalties there at the end that I think may have had an effect on the way the game ended. But when I think of the Ted Roof hire, it's not necessarily Ted Roof, the coordinator, that bothers me so much as it was the way that Gus presented the hire. He's a good coach, and we worked together when we won a national championship.
Or you mean like Ted Roof, the buddy, instead of Ted Roof, the coach?
Yeah. It did not come across as we did an extensive search, and this guy was the most qualified, and therefore we felt like he gave us the best chance to win. It was. 10 years ago we won a national championship and we were together and we're buddies. I don't know.
Yeah.
So what's your top?
Solid picks.
Okay, so my third and top most egregious blunder is going to be the Colorado loss of the 2024 season. Let's maybe that's a T-ball answer. I don't know, but I'll give you my reasoning.
I thought about putting that on there. Definitely did. I
considered the Colorado loss, and I considered the Baylor loss.
I considered the Florida loss.
The Florida loss was a good one too. I didn't even consider that one. The reason I went with the Colorado loss as opposed to the Baylor loss in the 23 season, or the Florida loss, to Andrew's point, Colorado was some major exposure for UCF, and everything lined up perfectly for us to have a breakout game on a national Fox aired game, prime in the house, Fox big noon kickoff prior to that. I mean, the stars were aligned, and here we are coming into this game ready to go 4-0, 2-0 in conference. You could not ask for a better crowd, and the product that we put on the field was just abysmal. Not to mention, we ceded the color gold to Colorado.
That's his biggest complaint.
That is my biggest complaint. But I mean, of all the things to do, losing that game was the big one, right? In front of a national audience, right after big noon kickoff, with all the momentum we had behind this program, with the potential to jump to 4-0 before heading off on the road to Florida. Keeping our lead in the Big 12, because we were number 1 in the Big 12 at the time, I believe.
Yeah, we were the only 1-0 team. Yeah.
I thought so. Yeah, and it's all gone downhill from there. So that's my number 1 biggest blunder.
I would say, on top of that, like to add to that, at the press conference the other day, it was a really good question asked. Like, you see teams like BYU making a jump. You see teams like Cincinnati making somewhat of a jump. What's holding you guys back? What's holding UCF back? UCF seems like the only team in the Big 12 that's struggling to make that next leap with all the talent in the world. It's not even a non-talented team. All the talent. But
unfortunate.
Talking about an untalented roster. Brian, we have you on for the game show, but we love your analysis. We know what you get into. Let's have some game discussion about the Iowa State game. What did you like? What didn't you like?
What didn't I? You want me to start with what I did like or what I didn't like?
You know what? I'm feeling pretty negative right now. Let's do what you didn't like.
What I didn't like. Okay. Let's talk about the inability to contain the quarterback for Iowa State. Rocco Becht was their quarterback for Iowa State, and we made him look like Johnny Manziel out there during the second half of that game. We could not get pressure on him, and when we did get pressure on him, he was able to escape, use his legs, escape the pocket, keep the play alive, throw the ball downfield. Even Lee Hunter had him wrapped up at one point, and I still am not sure of the physics behind how you can get wrapped up by Lee Hunter and not go down. But the defense, the defense in that second half. What was that?
The missed sack with Deshaun Pace at the end.
I was about to say
that one too.
4th and 3, and we force him out, and Deshaun slips, and we miss him. He gets the pass out.
Yeah. You were saying?
So, I mean, the defense played better in the first half than they did in the second half of that game. But there are still lots of improvement that needs to be done as far as the defense goes. If you want to flip the other side of the coin, you want to talk about the offense. If we did not have RJ Harvey, we don't have an offense in this game, right? Ja'Cory Brown is able to get some movement with his legs, but the passing game was non-existent. 62 yards passing in the entire 4 quarters of football in that game is crazy. That the stat that we are putting up less than 100 yards passing in any game. Now, credit to Iowa State, they have a very good defense, so take that with a grain of salt. But 62 yards passing is just not going to get it cut in any game that you're playing in.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, for what I saw during Iowa State, was once again another coaching malfunction. It's bad. You have RJ Harvey dominating the entire game. What do you do in the 4th quarter? Start airing it out for some reason. All right, we understand they're loading the box. The plays are there, but just stick to what's working. You don't change something if it isn't broke, because they were stacking the box in the beginning of the game. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And what you just saw was, he tried to say, we had the guys wide open. We need to make the pass. I don't know if it's called Ja'Cory or Ja'Cory, so I'm just gonna go with JB for now because a lot of people are controversial. JB hadn't proven he can make a pass in 2 games. What makes you think he's gonna make some of these high leverage throws in the 4th quarter? I'm talking about the one play to ice the game. He missed RJ Harvey on a flat. I'm talking about maybe 5 yards away from him. That would have sealed the deal. And on the defensive side, they played 40 minutes of football. And the best we can do is run off, 3-4 minutes for them? We can't even run off. If they had another 30 seconds, UCF could win that game. But the need to go fast, the need to have a fast tempo offense, you can still score the ball without fast pace. It's almost like what he tried telling me in the press conference was, if we weren't going fast, that means we can't score, because you have to slow the ball down a little bit in the 4th quarter with a lead against the number 9 ranked team in the country.
Yeah, George O'Leary was absolutely pulling his hair out of that response, because he would have been eating clock and feeding the running back all night long once he had gotten that lead.
Yeah,
and I think that this game shows more than ever. I think this was the game of missed opportunities. So many. If just one more thing goes our way, we win this game. Deshaun Pace gets that sack, maybe things end up differently. If we run the clock and we're supposed to, and run tempo and we're supposed to, maybe things go differently. If we complete that RJ Harvey pass, maybe things go differently. If Randy Pittman doesn't slip and we give the ball right back to Iowa State off that Ja'Cory Brown pick, maybe it goes differently. It's just so many things. It just feel like everything went wrong that was supposed to go wrong to give Iowa State the win. We by no means should have won, but we did. Well, we could have. It was there. And that's what makes it extra frustrating compared to just, all right, we got blown out by Colorado, whatever. We were stagnant against Florida, whatever. But this one, to me, stings a little bit more because it's just one more thing goes your way, you win.
I feel like it's been like that for the past couple games. They've given us every reason to beat them. We just failed on every opportunity we've had.
Yeah. To Andrew's point, when I was watching the Iowa State game, I was taking notes, and the thing that bothered me the most was when UCF had the opportunity to convert when they were on offense. We found multiple times where the offense was 3rd down and 4 yards to go in order to get the first down. You've got one of the best running backs in the country with RJ Harvey. And not once, but at least twice, and I think it was 3 times, Gus tries to draw to throw the long ball on 3rd and 4th. Now, I understand that 3rd and 4th is not 3rd and 1, it's not 3rd and 2, but you've got RJ Harvey. Push what's working. Don't try and force something that's not working. And we had seen that the JB had been struggling to throw the ball. And not only is he trying to throw on 3rd and 4th, he's throwing deep on 3rd and 4th. It's just not going to work. And he did this multiple times. And then to your other point, Andrew, you mentioned RJ Harvey being wide open in the flat and JB missing him. We saw that exact play unfold in the Florida game. Yep. Except it was KJ who missed almost the exact same pass to RJ Harvey, who's in the flat. And if he catches that ball, and that certainly wasn't RJ's fault for not catching the ball, it was a bad pass, both in that game and by JB in this most recent game, he runs for a first down, 10, 15, 20 yards. Who knows what happens? So I think that falls on coaching, to your point. I don't think that is, a busted play that doesn't work. It's poor execution, which comes down to coaching.
That's a UCF team that had over 350 rushing yards.
Yeah.
And in the peak, when they needed to really run the ball, they didn't.
Yeah.
That's just been the whole season. A team that doesn't know their identity. And I've seen it more than ever this year.
Yeah.
But
it was brief, but I think that's all we have for the Iowa State discussion. Thank you, Brian, for taking time out of your night to come on the show and talk. I know you've done a lot this week. I believe you have an article as well on SonsUCF.com.
It's not out yet. I'm working on it.
It's not out yet? All right, so
it's coming.
Hopefully by the time that this comes out, it'll be out. So go ahead and check that out on SonsUCF.com. Thank you, Brian, again, and hopefully to see you again.
Always fun, guys. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Pleasure, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed that segment with Brian W. Peterson. Once again, huge thank you to him for taking the time out to be here. And speaking about the Iowa State game, what a nightmare that was. But there's still so many more weekly nightmares happening in the UCF community. So really quickly, on a serious note, we want to give a huge prayer to UCF captain, team leading scorer last year, and overall great guy, Jalen Sellers. I had the opportunity to cover the charity exhibition match versus Florida Gulf Coast for UCF men's basketball. And early in the second half, Jalen went down with what appears to be a very serious back injury, and he had to be stretchered off the court. And the latest update is that he's currently receiving imaging in the hospital. So huge prayers to him. It sucks to see such a significant player go down in a low-stake charity match like that. It sucks to see injuries in sports in general. So huge prayers to him. And it wasn't no fun nightmare. This is just genuinely just something that's bad in the UCF community. And this team has a chance to be good, and they would be better with him. So hopefully he gets back soon.
Yeah. And on a brighter note, Jalen did tweet. He was tweeting shortly after the injury. He did say that he plans on being back. I don't know in what kind of capacity, but that's always good to hear. He seems to be in good spirits. As you said in the show on Suns Today, he loves Johnny Dawkins, and I also believe Jalen loves this program. So very unfortunate to what happened.
He does. When you see all the tweets that he makes, all the comments that he made during media day, he loves that guy. He loves him.
But in another nightmare, I think the biggest nightmare from the Iowa State game was Braden Marshall dropping the ball at the half-yard line after he got a pick and was running into the end zone. Andrew, have you ever dropped to your knees so fast? I did. I dropped to my knees.
Brother, I almost stood up and then fell to my knees. That's how devastating that was. I don't think I've ever seen that happen in a game, in especially watching it live, and then for it to be the team I'm covering, the team I'm a fan of, my college school, have a dumb sports moment like that. That's the kind of stuff you watch on YouTube growing up when you're 10 years
Exactly. I was
old.
about to say that. Like
Yeah.
those montages. I remember it's happened in like Utah, Oregon, 2016. Like a Utah guy picked off Oregon and then dropped it off, but the Oregon saw it happen and they picked it up and ran it back.
Well,
So thank
thankfully
God
they
that the
didn't.
Iowa
Yeah,
State
thankfully.
players were not paying attention, and we were able to get that touchdown. But yeah, I think
Awesome.
that about wraps up everything. A quick episode. We were able to get through quick today. We know that you probably have other important things going on, so I'm feeling a little tired. Andrew, how about you?
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit tired. That Gus, I mean that Gus, he's living rent free in my head right now, guys. It's not good. That conversation I had with Brian W. Peterson, it was really good and got some good insight on what this team has done wrong in the Gus era. And hopefully these things can be fixed soon. We pray for it every day. As people who cover the team and people who make content based on the team, there's nothing better than when the team is winning. So it's never our intention to go on a team when it's down. It's never our intention to trash the team. But at the end of the day, it's real. It's real. What's going on is bad, and that's the story.
I wholeheartedly agree. And hopefully we got BYU this weekend. It's homecoming. So to have a good time, even win or lose, we booze, right? So
Yeah, I gotta get some rest to get prepared for that.
yeah. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and go Knights.
Ciao, John.